I would like to thank and also welcome Ms. Karen Cummings. She's here from the Organ Donor Network. She was our peer education trainer for these last couple of weeks. Okay, thank you, Karen. Good afternoon, everybody. The New York Organ Donor Network is one of 58 organizations across the country that helps facilitate life-saving transplants. So we handle all of the transplants within this area. And our goal, bottom line, is to save lives. You're going to hear from a couple of great speakers. Most of them are volunteers, and they work with us. They're going to talk about their journey to transplantation and why it's so important about life-saving donation. Currently, there are more than 118,000 people across the country that are waiting for life-saving transplants. More than 9,000 of those people exist within our area. Every 11 minutes, someone new is added to the list of people waiting for life-saving transplants. And unfortunately, every 15 hours, a New Yorker dies waiting for a transplant that they don't receive. So our goal with this program and the partnership that's existed here with the MCC is to try to increase education and awareness of the critical shortage, give you all the information that you need, and hopefully it will make you think about organ and tissue donation in a positive way, and then you'll take action. As the professor said, it's not an obligation, but we believe you'll hear some moving stories, and it'll make organ and tissue donation a really important part of what you think about. So we appreciate the partnership, and I'm going to bring the professor back. We'd like to start off by showing you a moving video on a true story about the Bowville family. So if you take a few minutes and just watch this video with us.
Firefighter, he was a Coast Guard. His whole purpose was to help others and touch other lives, and he was a comedian and so loving and so powerfully funny and goofy and fun. And now we know that that's going to go on. And what do you want? We want to share that with everybody.
And I think that's exactly the significance of the church.
Found early that morning, great possibility he would not recover. Eventually he passed away. And in unison, he came out, oh yes, absolutely. We will, in unison, said, this is what we will. Looking through his wallet and his ID, sure enough, he had a donor account, so you know, from then, he made a great decision. He loved his sisters and loved his mom and dad. He always called me Pops. He came home, big Pops. He says, Pops, can't wait, you know, to show you. I'm going to show you some cool moves. It's an honor to have a son like that.
I used to talk to him in high school about 7 o'clock, 9 to the next 8 o'clock in the evening on dialysis days. He came back, he was just so sick and he was so sad, you know, no energy, so it was very difficult for the family.
I just don't need it. It would be a very hard, very difficult for me to get this.
How we can move, and how we can do that, exactly what he's talking about with the nerve.
hospitalization was in 2003. When original 93 pounds hospitalization.
She was in the hospital in the city, and I worked an hour and a half away, and it was an hour and a half trip every single day at work. I get home 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, get up in the morning at 6:15, and go to work again, and do it all over again.
I knew that if I would get a heart down, that I never get one, or that I would pass away. I never felt that. I always felt that it was going to be a good thing, and it was going to work out.
Breathing, I was on oxygen, and it was just a struggle to get up every day, or I think things, work schedule, I tried to live my life as normally as possible. It was very difficult. It was hard for me, it was hard for my family. It took a long time, it was a long time coming. It was my third call, and I've been to the hospital 2 other times, and finally on the third try, they bring you upstairs to the waiting room, and you're waiting all day, giving you medication, and bring you down to the operating room, and it's not until really a couple minutes before you actually go into the operating room that you know that this is going to happen. And you say a prayer, and you say goodbye to your family, and it's just it's incredible. And you wake up, and the minute I woke up, I felt different. I felt much better. The plan is instructions just to live my life to the fullest, and just give thanks to the donor family. Just remember, it's what a gift I have.
Meeting between a donor family and a deceased donor and the persons who receive their gift is very rare. So today is a miracle. We know this is a very emotional moment for you. It's a very emotional moment for everybody involved, and a moment that is forgotten. In a few moments, the family of your donor, Michael Bowell, will enter the room. You're about to meet the family that said yes to organ donation. So now the time has come.
Brings the joy in our hearts, more than we ever put in words.
Let's just like to serve others, and I just hope that little part of him becomes a part of him. Elijah's mother said that we're already family, and that's how we feel. And that's how our family feels too. It's beautiful. And I'm so glad to be a part of this.
It was the first thing I thought about when I came out. Thank you, lover.
My goal is to continue getting life. So, first time, thank you.
Got to I was with my friend, and I got the phone call saying that they're coming to see me. So that was cool. I was excited and everything.
Today, we did it on the same level as the day she got the car. The day they walked in, within 5 seconds, so I felt like, I do this.
Yeah, really excited. One, I was just excited. I wasn't, afraid or anything like that. I knew it would be a good day.
Really just was incredibly emotional, great experience with her family. It was more than I could ever hope for. They were just so loving and giving, and just, all you want to say as a recipient is thank you.
Well, as parents, my goodness, words can't really describe the emotion that go through knowing that after your son's department, and how they become a part of us.
Well, this was the moving video that was shown in all the health education classes back in September. And from this video, a few students were moved by the viewing and decided to become peer educators. And I would like to just introduce them one by one. And if our peer educators could just stand up and give a wave, since some of them are in the front and some of them are in the back. I appreciate that. First one is Sarah Aslam. Dwayne Dixon. Jade Edwards. Laura Flores. Irina Guerrera. Winter Haley. Stephen Malak. Kayla Roland, Atia Sadia, Dalvis Johnson, and Raquel Cameron. Thank you. These students did a lovely job training other DMCC, educating other DMCC students on organ donor awareness. And we're going to hear from them in a little bit. But first, we have some guest speakers I would like to pull up. They are recipients of different organs. The first one I would like to pull up is someone that might look a little familiar, okay? Can I have Roxanne Watson, please?
I waited for my gift for 2 years. At the end of my wait, I was 93 pounds. I was dying in the hospital, in Montclair Hospital in the Bronx, waiting for my heart. As you can see, that was my donor family. They all. Michael always wanted to be a donor. He had signed up to be one on his license and in the Coast Guard. So, in terms of his family, there was never a question. It was just a matter of when they would donate. He was a person who served his country, served his community, he was a fireman, he was an EMT, he was a little bit of everything that was good in America. And I also thank him every single day for the gift of life. I hope that someone in this room today who has not been moved to become an organ donor will become one today. Thank you very much.
And next, I would like to please ask Anthony Gilmore to come up. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Kilburn, and I received a kidney right here in New York City, Thanksgiving Day, 2009. I first got diagnosed with end-stage renal disease. Put it in layman's terms, kidney disease. I was on dialysis for 3.5 years, And at the time, before that, one of the symptoms of kidney diseases is I was losing weight. I was dizzy all the time. Couldn't go to the bathroom. And all I just wanted to do was sleep. Anybody here from the great state of Texas? No? But anyway, my donor was a 52-year-old woman from Texas. That's all the information that I do know about her. But as like Roxanne says, it isn't a day that I do not thank her for what she has given. I always send her a card and a letter every year, and that will be till the day that I die. Right now, as Karen Cummins and Professor Rick was saying, that for some reason it's a real terrible shortage of organ donors here, not only in the state of New York, but all across the United States. Before I even became a volunteer at the New York Organ Donor Network, I was not even knowledgeable of all this stuff. I remember the doctor telling me that my wait would be 5 to 7 years. In the country, it's supposed to be just like 2 to 3 years. But 5 to 7 years here in New York, that's too long. So I just hope that you guys just come up and step up to the plate, sign up, be a hero, save a life, and thank you, and God bless.
And Dave Rogers, if you can come up, please, thank you.
I'm going to try this without the microphone. If anybody in the back can't hear me, just raise your hand and I'll use it. But my story goes like this. It started in 2002. I returned from a 12-hour fishing trip, walked to my place out on the eastern end of Long Island, and I fell flat on my face. For the next 16 hours, I lay comatose. I couldn't reach my cell phone, and there was nobody there with me. Upon me coming back around, I figured I needed to get something to eat and something to drink. I took a shower. As I was leaving my place, a neighbor of mine spotted me and said, "What's the matter with you? You don't look right." He said, "Matter of fact, you look jaundiced. Get your butt to the hospital now." First time I ever heard that word in an adult. I knew of babies being jaundiced, but not an adult. So I drove myself to the hospital after 5 or 6 hours, taking blood, answering 100 questions. They told me that we think you have hepatitis. We're not sure what strain, so we're going to keep you in the hospital for further testing, and we're going to send your blood to another lab. Being the guy that I was, I didn't need anybody to check on me. I signed myself out of the hospital. But I was smart enough to take a copy of that blood test with me, and I told him I'd go see my own doctor. I drove home the next day, Labor Day weekend, called my doctor, went in to see him, showed him the blood test. The doctor said, "This blood test couldn't be true. If this blood test was true, you wouldn't have walked in that door. Go get another blood test." I went off, got another blood test, came back. Blood test number 2, laid out against blood test number 1, mirror image. The doctor said, "This is serious. We got to get you to a specialist." Made a couple of calls, went to see a specialist. Took the 2 blood tests. Walked in, showed them to the doctor. The doctor said, "These 2 blood tests couldn't be true. How did you get in here?" I said, "I drove here, and then I walked up the stairs." He said, "You couldn't do that. Go get another blood test." Off I went, got blood test number 3. Come back, we lay out the 3 blood tests, and they're a mirror image. Now the specialist says, "We had a big problem, and I don't know what it is. And I'm going to make a telephone call while you're sitting here." Calls Mount Sinai Hospital, talks to an associate there, and said, "I have this gentleman sitting across the desk from me and reads off my blood scores." I knew nothing about medicine. I knew nothing about blood scores, so I didn't understand what he was talking about. At the end of him reading that off, he said, "Have you ever heard of anything like this?" And the doctor on the other end said, "Yes. We call it acute liver failure, unknown," which means your liver's dying. We don't know why. and there's no cure. Followed by, and you better get him in the hospital ASAP. That night, they got me into a hospital on Long Island, and then they played Let's Make a Deal with the insurance company, sent me to Mount Sinai the next day, and at Mount Sinai, I went under a week of testing. They confirmed the acute liver failure, and they said, here's your choices. One, the liver that you currently have starts to regenerate, becomes a fully functioning liver, the only organ in your body that can do that. Two, you get a liver transplant. Three, lights out and the game's over. I said, Doc, I'm a pretty simple guy. Number one, the chances of me getting my liver turning around, he said, was about 1 in a million. I'm not a gambler. So I said, let's get rid of that. This lights out and the game's over, that's not in my vocabulary. Let's deal with reality. Where do I sign and when do you transplant? The doctor says, well, you do have to sign, but then you have to go on a list. And then you have to wait. And I said, doctor, one of the things you just said was the end of life. Lights are out. I don't want to hear that. But unfortunately, that's the position we are here in New York and the United States. You have to get on a list and you have to wait, no matter what organ it is. So I signed a piece of paper, the doctor went away. By the end of the day, he came back and he said, I got good news and I got some not so good news. The good news is you're number 1 at Mount Sinai. That's how bad your liver is. You're number 4 in New York State. That's how bad your liver is. The not so good news, we don't have any livers. And instead of livers coming in daily, as they were prior, they're coming in like weekly. So it's going to be a waiting game. Over the next 3 weeks, 3 livers came in. They were all rejected. During week 2, my kidneys shut down. I had to go on dialysis. During week 3, we called the priest to give me last rites. Somehow, it wasn't my turn to go because I made it to week 4 and I got a Class A liver, the best you can get. But somebody had to die. And that gentleman that died was 27 years old. Lived in upstate New York. Died of a brain aneurysm. The week before he died, he had lunch with his mother. Kind of had a standing date with his mother. Once a week they went to lunch. Because his father had died at an earlier age when he was small. And he had this bond with his mother. He was the youngest of 4 kids. And they just had a real special relationship. Well, the week before having lunch, he says to his mother, Ma, I want you to know if something happens to me, I signed up to be an organ donor. Now, for the adults in here, if you were sitting across the table from your child and they told you that story, I'm quite sure you'd be puzzled as to why. Why would somebody 27 years old start thinking about the end of life? Well, this kid was just exceptional. At 18 years old, he went to Mexico to help the poor people. When he was 19 years old, he went to Haiti to help the folks in Haiti recover from a hurricane. It was his nature to give. So he knew what he wanted to do if something happened to him. And unfortunately, every day, accidents happen. I'm driving here from Long Island today, and there was an accident. He made the decision. His mother followed through with the decision. I got his liver. I was able to go back to work. I was able to see my oldest daughter get married. Subsequently, I have 2 grandkids. My middle child and daughter open up her own business. And my son graduated and become a teacher. It took me 9.5 years to make contact with my donor mother. Somehow, my letters never made it through the path. But I finally made it. And I drove up to Albany and I met her. And it was one of the greatest feelings I ever had. And what was really strange about it was her name was Rita May. Her daughter's name was Rita Kay. Rita May worked in Macy's. My mother's name was Rita Jean. My mother worked in Macy's. It was bizarre, but it was the greatest feeling that I ever had. There's a lot more I could tell you. I could give you some stories that have you laughing. 2 seconds later, you'd be crying. All tied into this. But the real story is the decision that you make. Because I wasn't an organ donor. I never signed my license. I never signed the donate life card. I always thought it was somebody else's job. Until it happened to me and the light bulb came on. The fact of the matter is, Karen spoke about somebody dying today because we don't have enough organs. Across the United States, it's going to add up to about 18 people are going to die today because we don't have enough organs. We have the people dying. They're just not signed up to be organ donors. And they might not die in the right way that the organs can be procured. But in New York, we're like the 49th state on the list of people that have even signed up, just in case they get into an accident, and just in case they happen to die, that could potentially be an organ donor. That's what this is about. Because the choice comes down to, something happens to you, you can take those organs and put them 6 feet in the ground. You can get cremated and have them put in an urn and put on a shelf somewhere. Or one person dying could save the lives of 8 people with organ donation and help another 40 to 50 people with tissue donation. That's what organ donation can do. The decision's yours. It's not a forced sell. It's not mandatory. It's a decision that you get to make as an individual. And hopefully, one of you will carry this message outside this room to your friends, to your family, or to someone else that you know. Because it's an epidemic that we need to fix. And the only way we're going to fix it, other than living donations, is through people that die by accident and their organs are used. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dave. And our last organ recipient I'd like to introduce is Jen Lantini. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jen Lantini, and my journey began when I was just 13 years old. I was a normal, healthy teenager doing everyday, normal 13-year-old things. My brother actually is 6.5 years younger than I am, and he had open heart surgery when he was 2 years old. So he was always one of my family that we were concerned with and people watched. I was the healthy older sister. And I started to have these really bad, severe stomach pains. And everyone pretty much kept telling my family, my mom and my dad, that I was lying. There was nothing physically wrong with me. Nothing was going on. I was just a 13-year-old teenager. I didn't want to go to school. There was just different things going on because they could not find anything physically wrong with my body. I was going back and forth to the pediatrician. I was going back and forth to the emergency room. And the diagnosis always was that I was a 13-year-old liar, pretty much. And again, at 13, I understand where they come from, but it was very hard to hear because I knew I didn't feel well. Finally, I was going back and forth, and everything happened very fast. I had my birthday, March 4th, and I had been going back to different doctors, places. I was active. I was a time twirler, a dancer. I played lacrosse, basketball, softball. I wasn't great at really much, but I played everything. And I had collapsed out on the lacrosse practices, and even then, they just chalked it up to maybe I was tired, there was nothing wrong with me. Finally, after going back and forth at night to different hospitals, different places, my pediatrician had seen me probably for about the 11th time, and he said, well, I'm going to send you to an emergency room again and see if we can figure out what's going on. And the emergency room, and I had been back and forth with a few others,
they told my parents, well, we still don't really know what's wrong with her. She has stomach pains, so maybe her ovaries are twisted, which would have meant that when I grew up, I couldn't have my own children. But they just said, well, do what you have to do to figure out what's going on. And we were like, well, we're not really sure if that's the case. So they said, let's do exploratory surgery in the abdomen region. And they ended up doing the surgery. At this point, when I went in, I ended up going into cardiac arrest on the table because my heart was so enlarged, they realized the only thing that was going to save it was a transplant. And when I had gone into cardiac arrest, they didn't tell my parents after the surgery, they revived me. I came out and I looked like a Macy's Day balloon. They told my parents, they'll go home, I'll be okay in the morning. And my parents went home because they do have a younger brother. We don't come from a big family to have people watch him. And 2 hours later, they called up my family saying, your daughter's not in the heart failure, you need to come back to the hospital and say goodbye right away. At this point, they brought my family in, my younger brother, my uncle, everybody actually said goodbye to me. They had given me my last rites because they said that there was nothing they could do for me. And there was one doctor there. He said that if we could stabilize her enough, and I was over in Long Island, to bring her to Columbia Presbyterian, the only way that she would live is with a heart transplant. So they were able to stabilize me. And I remember I got over to Columbia Presbyterian, and I woke up. Now I'm only 13 years old. I was surrounded by all these doctors, and they told me, you need a heart transplant. I said, okay, sign me up. I assumed it was like my younger brother with open heart surgery. I didn't know what it was at 13. And at that point, I ended up having to wait for 3 months and a day. I had a Robiac tube, which is a permanent IV that they place in your chest because they need medicine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was extremely fortunate to get the gift of life on July 6, 1996. I actually just celebrated my 17-year heart transplant birthday. And I would say, I'm just very blessed. I was one of the lucky ones that was blessed with this gift. There's no greater gift that you can give to somebody but the gift of life. We all want things. We all live in a world of materialism and different things, but you know what? There really is nothing greater than to give someone the gift of breath just to have every day. When I was 13 and I got my transplant, they told my parents I thought I was going to make it to 18. At 18, they said 21. At 21, it was 25. And I just celebrated my 30th birthday this year. And if it wasn't for a family to decide that they were going to donate their son's organs, I would not be here, and also the other recipients that received other organs wouldn't be as well. Organ donation does not discriminate. I was only 13 years old. It can happen to an infant. It can happen to you if you're older. It's something that we can question and wonder why, but there is a way to help. I wear my bracelets every day. I actually, myself, I got tattoos when I was 18, and I have my transplant date on it, but I went on to live a life. I went to school for social work, now I'm kind of in between work, but that's most people, whether it's transplant or no transplant. And again, my gift of life, it's just something wonderful that I would not have had these 17 years and hopefully many more if it was not for my donor and his family. I was never able to meet the family, but I do have a picture. Okay. His name was Matthew. And he was actually only 14 years old when he passed away. He was a gunshot victim. We're not sure exactly what happened, but they told us that he was at the wrong place at the wrong time, or that maybe he was playing with the gun himself. And I received a letter from his mother that was not just to myself, but the other recipients as well. And it said, dear recipient, I am writing to you in regards to my son Matthew, 14 years old, died July 5th, 96. We donated Matthew's organs to save others, knowing he would have wanted us to if he could have said so. Matthew was such a kind and loving boy of all he knew and even of people he really didn't know. Matthew was an honor student, a member of the track and field team. He loved nature, fishing, four-wheeling, and animals. He also believed in the Lord. Matthew was never any trouble to anyone ever, just a very good boy. As we've all said our stories and we shared, hopefully something will impact you. And again, nobody's going to stand at the door to make you become an organ donor. It's something that comes from your heart. And that's what we all speak. We want you to hear stories and understand the importance of it, because it can happen to anybody. It can be your friend, your family member. If it was, you want to help them as much as you can. So please, either come up, wear the bracelets, talk about it, and really just think about signing up to be an organ donor. I'm an organ donor myself. Maybe I can't give my heart, but I can give other things. So just think about it. It's the greatest gift that you're ever going to give someone, and I am extremely cherished and blessed to have received it. Thank you. Thank you to our organ recipients, Anthony, Roxanne, Jen, and Dave, who please give them a nice round of applause. Next, we have a current BMCC student, Dina Rotham, and Dina would like to share her special story with you all. Thank you, Dina. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me from us today. My story, I'm not a student, but I am a donor. I think my kid will ask me to take my father. I don't know if you do that. It's great. When you do it, you don't think of anybody else. You do it for yourself. For you to tell me else, for you to to have. Don't think of just, oh, well, you didn't go underground about it. You never know who's that person you're going to say. It doesn't have to be your father or your mother or your friend. It could be a stranger. And you guys know how it changed your life. And for that, you could be immortal when you change because that's how to your friends and family. I'm not here to glorify myself, but I just want us to be all humans and find that little light inside of us to share our stories and hopefully save many more lives. Thank you. Okay, so next I would like to open up the floor for some questions that you may have. You can ask any of our recipients, or you can ask Karen Cummings, our educational trainer from the New York State Organ Donor Network. Okay, so I'm going to come around with the mic. Just raise your hand if you have a question. I'll bring over the mic. Karen, come over the mic.
Okay, so does anyone have a question? Remember, there's no such thing as a stupid question, okay? So please be comfortable and ask anything. Okay, just stand up and tell us your name.
Hello, my name is Harold. My question is, the first step I've taken was to check the box on your license. What is the next step to ensure that you're incorporated into that system?
So you check the box, which means you got your driver's license with a low card on it. Roxanne, stand up and show them the back of your shirt. It should look like that. Roxanne's our model for exactly. Basically, you've done everything that you need to do, which means that if you were to pass away, automatically we would be able to contact the Department of Health, because you would be listed in their confidential database, which means you have made the choice to be an organ donor. What happens after that point is we're able to then notify your family of your wishes and provide them with all the information that you completed. After that, then we have to test you to see which organs are healthy enough for transplant. But we have to verify that consent first. So basically, you've done everything you can at this point except talk to your family about what your wishes are. Because taking action is the first step, but talking to your family about what your wishes are. What you've heard from some of the stories is a lot of the donors had that conversation with their family. I always say it's a gift you give your family that they know what your wishes are. It makes it so much easier for your family if they do know. So I say the next thing you could do is talk to your family about your wishes, and then educate an additional person on the importance of organ and tissue donation. I think that's the key and important part. Thank you.
Thanks for your question. Any other questions? You must have some. All right, in the back.
Yes, Professor Watson. I heard that if you are an organ donor and you go to the hospital, they won't try to save you as much as somebody who's not an organ donor because they want to save your
Thank you for that. I know. That's probably the biggest misconception that is associated with organ donation. About 60,000 people die in the city every year. And only between 1 and 1.5% of all those deaths can be potential organ donors. So think about how small that pool is. In addition, Dave talked about how New York is at the bottom of the list of all the residents that have signed up to be organ donors. Only 21% of all New Yorkers have actually expressed their wishes to be an organ donor. We are at the bottom of the list of every state in the country. So, in most cases, if you die at a hospital, there is no guarantee that you're going to be an organ donor. In most cases, you would have to go to your family to get consent. Half the families we approach say no, because they've never gotten this education beforehand. So, for us, things like what's going on here at the MCC is so important. Increasing education and increasing awareness of the life-saving need. So that's the key and important part. And two, we want the healthiest possible organs, okay? So the hospital, the first thing they're going to do is do everything they can to save your life. Their goal is not to support organ and tissue donation. It's only after you've passed away that they can even verify if you were signed up to be an organ donor. So the EMTs are not going to check your driver's license first before they administer care. The hospital is going to do everything they can to save your life. And only after you've passed away, which means you have to be in the hospital, they have to go through a series of tests to see if you are brain dead, which means no brain activity, no brain stem activity. Do they even say you have passed away? And then we can check to see if you are listed as an organ donor. So, I mean, there's so many steps that have to be taken. As I said, 60,000 people die just in the city every year. We have about 9,000 people that are on the waiting list. Unfortunately, everybody that dies cannot be an organ donor. That's the biggest misconception, is that we would let you die to become an organ donor. If that's the case, we would have nobody who dies in the city. So, thank you for asking the question, because most people think that's like the biggest misconception.
Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I was told that if you donate an organ, your lifespan is short. Is that true?
You mean as a living donor?
Yes. So if I donate one kidney,
No, you can live with one healthy kidney. So there's nothing about donating as a living donor, okay? Because you can donate one kidney, or you can donate a lobe of your liver, which is a piece of your liver. As Dave said, the liver is the only organ that regenerates itself. So there is no data that proves that your lifespan is shorter because you were a living donor. Not at all. Thank you. Yes.
I was just going to say. Here.
Hi everyone, my name is Robert. I'm looking at my license and it's the organ donor. Apparently I signed up to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yay.
I'm a little confused. I guess I'm donating a viable organ, a organ that can be salvaged, or when I did sign up, I don't remember.
Right, what you He's like, I don't remember what I wanted to donate.
You can specify, if you'd like to, about organ donation, or you can say exactly that. Whatever is healthy enough at the time is what I'd like to donate. In most cases, that's what most people do, but you can, and you'll see the form. The form does allow you to specify which organs you want to donate. So, yeah, you can donate whatever's healthy enough at the time, or you can say, I'd like to specify. Some people want to specify specific organs, is so you can do that on the forms that are at each of the tables around the room. Okay, thank you for your question.
Hi, Kyle Nickens. It says that you can save 8 lives. We talked about heart, lungs, kidney, liver.
Pancreas.
What are the others?
You can both lungs, corn. Well, everybody's screaming out stuff to me. I'm gonna let Anthony answer that question because he's telling me all types of stuff.
You can donate your eye corneas. You can donate skin, skins for the burn victims.
Let's save someone's life. Eyes don't save the life. The skin can.
Right. Yeah.
Heart,
Heart,
kidneys, lungs, pancreas. Okay.
liver, eyes, skin.
As an example, you know that people designate how they want their assets distributed, and your family can't say, I know she wanted to give it to this person, but I think she wants to give it to me. That's what you have. So it's the same thing with organ and tissue donation, and actually that was changed a couple of years ago, because initially it used to be a registry of just an intent to be an organ donor, and your family could decide yes or no. But people said, how is it that if I wanted to be an organ donor, my family gets to change my wishes after I passed away? So now it's a legally binding agreement. You can change it. If you decide you want to change your mind, you just have to, as you did to sign up, sign a letter saying I'd like to remove myself from the list. But it's a legally binding agreement, a decision that you make, the family can't change what your wishes are. Any other questions?
Can you donate to that person?
You can. It's not like blood donation. You can be an organ and tissue donor if you have tattoos. I'm happy about that. Okay.
Can I have a question? If one of us, are sitting here right now and we're really moved by this presentation and we want to become an organ donor, is there anything we can do right now to become an organ donor?
Well, all at the tables are professors and peer counselors, and at each table they have organ donor enrollment forms. You can come up and get additional questions answered. You can sign those forms. Everybody show your forms, please. So you can go to the peer counselors and the professors that are at each table around the room. They can hopefully help you sign up. Then you're listed on the New York State Registry, and hopefully we can increase the numbers of New Yorkers that are signed up, and we won't be at the bottom of the list, right? We need to have some New York pride, right, you guys?
Right, thank you. Okay, one more question. My name is Chantal, and if, say, you're donating, do they give your organs to the person that's top of the list, or could you choose a family member if you didn't give your consent? If you're just a donor, you didn't say, oh, give it to my family, would they give it to your family instead, or just family?
That is a really great question. You can direct your donation, but there's no way to specify it on the form, but you can let your family member know. In fact, a lot of people do that. It's called directed donation. So say, as an example, you passed away and your family knows there's somebody that they know of that was waiting for a life-saving transplant, and they would like to direct one of those organs to that individual. They can definitely do that. And then whatever is healthy enough for transplant will go to the next person on the list. So you can direct your donation. In fact, does anybody know Natalie Cole?
Yes.
The singer? That's how she received her transplant. She was waiting on a list for a kidney transplant, and her cousin passed away. So their family actually directed the kidney to Natalie, so she didn't have to wait on the list for the transplant.
My question is, seeing that we're all here, we're all students, I'm actually an international student, and I am signed up as an organ donor in Canada, but not here. How would I go about signing up to becoming an organ donor?
You would sign up on the forms that are at each table because it's based on the state in which you reside. So now you're residing here because of your education. We would suggest that you sign up here. Because if something were to happen to you, there is no national registry. There's no international registry. So for us, especially when you move or change residences, we always suggest that you re-sign up as organ donor on the state in which you reside.
New York means, multiple people. What happens with the organ of the person who died in the hospital, but there's no family or nobody else to ask if they would like their brother to do their organ to be donated, and if they will sign. Like, what's perfectly healthy organ.
Right, if someone were to die and there was no family, no next of kin for us to contact, then in most cases the doctor or the nurses would take over ownership basically as a family member, and they can decide if they would like that individual to be an organ donor. That very rarely happens. Even if somebody is out of the country, we would have to reach out to their next of kin out of the country to receive consent. So, and we would go to that family member. We would do Skype. We've done a million things to be able to get the consent for that next of kin if that individual isn't signed up. But if that individual had no family and we were able to research to determine there was no next of kin, then the doctor can assume that they would be the family member and make the decision about donation. But that rarely happens.
How come when your organ is compatible with someone, you can still get injected, and the organ can still be salvaged even if it's injected by that person's body?
Well, the body is very smart. So even though it knows it needs that organ to live, it knows that that's not my organ. So automatically, like getting a cut on your finger, the body starts to reject itself, which is why transplant recipients have to take the immunosuppressive drugs to reduce the chance of rejection. And in most cases, it cannot be salvaged. That organ cannot be transplanted into somebody else, unfortunately. So that's what happens. But the body is very intelligent. It says, I know I need that kidney, but that's not my kidney. So automatically it starts to reject itself. And that's the reason why there are no drugs for the rest of their lives. Right. The important. Exactly. Exactly. We're not in Colorado.
If you are killed in a car accident in a foreign country, and your card does say you're in London, and it says that you're a donor, will they honor and use your organs, or will they try to ship you back home, or?
They wouldn't try to ship you back home. They would probably try to contact your next of kin to determine if they would say yes to being an organ donor. In a lot of European countries, they have what is called presumed consent. And what that means is unless you sign that you don't want to be an organ donor, you are.
Why don't we have that here?
Oh gosh, we wish. We wish. We actually did a study a couple of years ago, and we polled some New Yorkers to see if they would want something like presumed consent. And we said no. And that's why, and that's why you'll find that in most European countries, they don't have lists that are as long as we do in this country for people that are waiting for life-saving transplants. I mean, we talk about New York being at the bottom of the list. Just think about it. The top of the list is like Oklahoma, close to 80% of their residents are signed up. Utah, close to 80%. Even California is more than 50% of their residents are signed up. And unfortunately, New Yorkers just haven't gotten the memo about the importance of organ donation. But I'm hoping that you guys have gotten an education and awareness and will be able to tell somebody else how important it is. Right? We're going to change New York.
We will have, question.
What's most likely going to happen to my organs if I decide to
You mean what would happen to your organs? Well, if you get signed to be an organ donor and you passed away, your organs would turn to dust. And they couldn't save someone's life. They can't be used for anything unless you give consent or your family gives consent. So in the case that you didn't sign up, then we would go to your family because we do so in every death. If your family said no, then we wouldn't be able to process you as an organ donor. And as I said, half the families we approach say no because they're not educated and they don't know what your wishes are. So we say, sign up, and then have that discussion with your family.
Any more questions? You will have an opportunity at the end to go around to peer educators and the professors to ask any other questions you would like. But I would like to have the peer educators come up to the microphones and tell us a little bit about what they learned with this peer education awareness event and how it affected their lives. So can we please have our peer educators come up here? If you have you all line up right in the front, that would be great. And for anyone who's in the back, if you want to come take a seat, there are plenty of seats right up here in the front. I have 4 seats right in the front if anyone in the back wants to take a seat.
Sorry. Sophie.
Yeah.